is on the air. Packers getting ready for what many seem to think is not a trap game. Going down to Jacksonville before they come back home for an afternoon affair against Detroit before the bye week gets here. So the Packers back on the practice field today. We're going to hear from Matt LaFleur coming up here in just a little bit. So we're going to hear from Mike Clemens as well. Mark Scofield from SB Nation coming up in the next hour. But we'll have Matt LaFleur's presser from a little bit earlier today and all the discussion that he had. A lot of interesting stuff, too, we'll talk about. But that's coming up here in just a little bit. However, how about Robert Saleh being on the sidelines today in Green Bay? Good friend of Matt LaFleur, obviously in each other's weddings. And they're just they're good buddies. But, yeah, Matt LaFleur calling in Robert Saleh saying, come on over. Take a look at what we got. And Saleh was there today on the sidelines. So Devontae Wyatt, by the way, back at practice today. So that was good news. But we're going to hear all of that coming up here in just a little bit. So I know that the questions automatically go to, is Saleh going to be coaching? Is he going to be consulting? What is he going to be doing? I got it. My thought is that he just came into town. He wanted to come and see Matt because the game's on the road. So I don't think he's traveling with the team, but I'm sure Matt's probably called and said, hey, come on out. Man, I'd love to pick your brain. You know, have you and Hafley sit down, look at film together, see how you did it, how Hafley does it. I mean, and I don't think Jeff Hafley's going to feel threatened. His defense is starting to play good, but I'll take more brains in the room than anything. You know, Saleh, really good defensive coordinator. The defense of the Jets was not the problem. Just an FYI. But the Packers 5-2 and 5-2 as well. When it comes to the series, including wins in each of the last three matchups with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Green Bay 3-1 in games played at the Jaguars Stadium. By the way, they've got a new one coming. I saw that in their pre-notes, their press notes, they got a new stadium coming. So Jacksonville does. So they're going to be moving out of where they're currently at shortly in the next few years and into this brand new. It looks almost like SoFi Stadium. It's amazing. It doesn't have that elongated shape. Like, if you look at SoFi, it kind of looks like a tennis racket. It's a long, skinny handle, and then it goes up to like almost this big tennis racket or giant fly swatter type of thing, all under glass, where Jacksonville has something similar, but it doesn't have the handle to it. But very similar design when it comes to their new stadium down there. But even though the Packers last played the Jaguars on the road back in 2016, Green Bay did play at Everbank Stadium in 2021, when the Saints were there. The Saints had to move and relocate due to a hurricane, remember. Packers didn't fare so well in that contest. Remember that? So Green Bay has scored 24 points 6 times against Jacksonville. And each of the last 6 games between these two teams have been decided by single digits, believe it or not. And for the last 5 contests, the two teams, the margin was 4 points or fewer. I don't expect that this weekend, but just to give you a little FYI there. So not a bad way to go. By the way, the Packers are 3-0 against AFC teams this season after wins over Houston and Indianapolis and Tennessee. And the Packers are one of 5 teams to play multiple games against the AFC this season and be undefeated. Houston's 4-0, Kansas City 3-0, Minnesota 2-0, Seattle 2-0 out of conference. And the Packers undefeated so far when it comes to going out of conference. They're looking to win 4 straight against the AFC in a single season for just the third time. The third time. They did it in 1995 and they did it in 2007. Looking to do it just the third time. And under head coach Matt LaFleur, the Packers 17-9 against the AFC. And that's tied for number 1 in the NFC and tied for number 3 in the NFL going back to 2019. So they fared actually pretty well going up against the non-conference foes. So all of that going on this weekend. Packers looking to continue their win streak. The injury report today, which it's not too bad. There are a few areas there. Corey Ballantyne has that ankle. He did not practice today. Jair limited. He's got the groin issue. We know that, but he's going to be there. Kenny Clark, he's got the toe, and he's been limited. They've been trying to give him time off. Elton Jenkins has a glute injury. A glute. Did not practice. Josh Myers has a wrist injury. Did not practice today. Both are expected to play in the game. They just didn't practice today. Keyshawn Nixon's got the hamstring. He was limited. Jaden Reed has that ankle that he twisted a couple of weeks ago. He's a little bit limited. Quay Walker not participating. He's got the concussion. I don't want to say shocked, but I'd be a little bit surprised by as wobbly as he was coming off the field on Sunday. I would be a little bit surprised if Quay Walker was indeed participating in this upcoming game. Just saying. He was, I don't think he was out on the field, but he was not doing a whole lot of moving. And then when he was coming off the field, he was a little wobbly, kind of slapping a few hands. What cracked me up, and I shouldn't say cracked me up in a funny sense, but one of the assistant coaches, or one of just the assistants, comes over to him on the sideline, and he's getting ready to be examined for a concussion. And he comes over and Quay kind of like puts his hand out. And remember, he's still walking a little funny. He's still getting a little bit of assistance. Puts his hand out like, hey, okay, thanks. And the guy's going to like say, hey, get well. Hope you're okay. Hang in there, whatever words of encouragement you're going to get. Instead, he like hits him in the head, slaps him in the head. I'm thinking, oh my God. I remember when I was a kid, when I was playing high school football, I got run over and I had a concussion. My dad came down out of the stands and he was standing behind me on the bench. And I'll never forget it. I was woozy. I wasn't feeling good. And my dad's like, oh, you're going to be okay, and hit me in the helmet. And that was it. That was the trigger. Boom, started hurling right after that. I'm thinking, this guy just hit him in the head. And he's getting examined for concussion-like symptoms. So, but he was not there today, needless to say. Christian Watson's got the ankle. He was a little bit limited. Colby Wooden, the defensive lineman, has the knee, but he was a full participant and limited today. Devontae Wyatt, but good to see him back. Good to see Devontae Wyatt back. We'll see if he actually plays, but good to see him back. And the Packers certainly could use him and add the depth. Jonathan Ford let go today by the team. They get him back. They bring him back to the roster, make some room for him. Long snapper gets then promoted after Jonathan Ford then gets subsequently cut loose. So that was the transaction that was made today by the Green Bay Packers. So Matt Orzech, the long snapper, they bring him back. They bring him back. Jonathan Ford, they get released today. Orzech, the fifth-year player, handled the snapping duty for the Packers in every game since the start of 2023. We all know that. But they had to let him go to make room for Jonathan Ford. Orzech then goes through, clears waivers. Packers then bring him back and release Jonathan Ford. So that way you don't have an injury release. You can just cut him loose. And who knows, maybe Jonathan Ford then gets brought back to the practice squad and kind of goes from there. But because I know they like to keep him, but most likely not going to be there this Sunday unless they do a whole lot of shuffling. But that's kind of the overall look of where things are and some of the news coming out of Green Bay today. Like I said, coming up in a few, we're going to hear from Matt LaFleur, and we're going to take his presser from a little bit earlier today. Bottom of the hour, Mike Clemens is going to join us. We'll talk with Mike. Mike is live at Lambeau, just getting out of the locker room a little while ago. So we're going to talk with Mike about what he saw today, and also having Robert Saleh on the sidelines, and we'll get his take on all of that as well. And then at top of the next hour, Mark Scofield, SB Nation, we take a big look around the National Football League and some of the upcoming games and some of the storylines when it comes to the NFL and everything that's happening. And then obviously the last half hour of the show, about an hour and 20 minutes from now, we're going to start to make our picks for around the rest of the NFL. And kind of go through all the capsules and the whole matchup this weekend, which, by the way, begins tomorrow night. Minnesota, after getting knocked off by Detroit over on Sunday, they're the first game. They got tomorrow night, Thursday night matchup. Minnesota's on the road. So they get beat at home. Then they got to turn around on a Wednesday, fly out for a Thursday night game. They're going to take on the Rams. However, the Rams are banged up too. The Rams are just, there's some talk now about Cooper Kupp possibly being on the trade block. So we'll see what happens there, but they are a banged up football team, big time, banged up football team. So we'll see how they end up faring. The Minnesota Vikings do against the Rams coming up this weekend. So all of that going on. So hang in there. We got a lot coming up this portion of the program. Brought to you by our friends over there at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, huge supporter of the Huddle, have been for a long, long time. And whether it's the vinyl windows, the Impervia windows, you also have which is stronger than fiberglass, by the way, the wood windows, the custom windows and doors. They have entry systems. You name it, they've got it. The innovation, such as the roll screen, the slider windows, all the different hardware on the inside, the curb appeal and beautification from the outside, the value that they add to your home. I mean, if you turn around and sell your home, you're going to get the value back out just for getting the new windows and doors. And then the economical factor and the safety factor. So there's so many reasons to talk to Pella. They have showrooms in Wausau. They have one up in Green Bay. They've got one just west of Milwaukee in Brookfield. And on the Beltline out in Madison, plenty of places for you to get out and see these things. However, think about this. If you get your deal and you bring, say, the in-home consultation, free, by the way, free in-home consultation, you get your deal done, get it written up by November 8th, you still have that legitimate shot at getting 0% for up to 60 months for qualified buyers. Think about that. So you get your windows and doors right now, 0% up to 60 months for qualified buyers. That's our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. All you got to do is check them out online. Go to Pella, P-E-L-L-A, PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com. Or call them, simply 855-PELLA-WI. That is 855-PELLA-WI. We're going to hear from Matt LaFleur when we come back. The Bill Michaels Huddle on this great Wednesday night. Stay tuned. We got more after this. Welcome back. Good to have you. Hopefully you're enjoying your day. Certainly appreciate you being here. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Stenny's. Stenny's at 2nd and National in Walker's Point, and then they're out there in Lake Country, also running shuttles to the Bucs games now, and running shuttles to both the Badgers games and the Packers games. So if you're looking to go to the Bucs game, by all means, you can go from Lake Country or downtown. The other games, Packers games, Badger games, they're going to be running shuttles to that as well. By the way, America's Best Restaurants, the TV show, coming to town, 2 weeks. And they want to know what your favorite menu item is down there. So I'm encouraging everybody to write in the wings. The wings are fantastic. And in addition to the wings, which are twice baked, by the way, the Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread. You got to write it in. Got to write it in. The Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread, wash it down with one of those award-winning Bloody Marys. You are good to go. That's our friends at Stenny's. And as they say, you should be here. So there you have it. Matt LaFleur, head coach of your Green Bay Packers, talking to the media earlier today. Just fresh off of the podium. Here's what he had to say.
points and by 5 points. And they were in command versus Houston and versus Miami. And they easily should have won. They could 5-2, so the same results right now. So I think that speaks to this football team. They've got weapons in every phase of the game. They've got receivers that are explosive, tight ends explosive. They got 2 runners. They got a franchise quarterback. And then I think you look at the defensive side of the ball, and just their ability to get after the quarterback is it's real. They got 2 edge rushers. They are 2 of the best in the game. So teams are making plays. They had a 96-yard punt return for a touchdown last week. And so we've got to play a consistent 4 quarters against this team. This is a very good team. Again, this is National Football League, so you better get ready to play your best each and every week. Recently, how does his presence impact? Well, I think it's a game changer because you just don't see too many tight ends with that speed. So he's one of many. I think they've got I just think it's a pretty strong roster. I don't think so. I think every game is a different game. So I think there's maybe some benefit to seeing how they attack similar defensive schemes that we have in Indy and in Houston. So, but again, every game plan is a little bit different. So you can read their mind on what they're going to do. But kind of get most of that. They've done pretty well against that scheme. So it's going to be a good challenge this week for our defense. Big games, obviously, because that's something over that's on defense. What is this experience Yeah, if you look at what he did, not only defensively, but he's still contributing and making his presence felt on defense as well. So, I can't say enough great things about Eric Wilson. Just he is a big pros pro. He does everything the right way. He leads. He helps guys that are trying to take snaps away from him on the defensive side of the ball. But he's still a great veteran leader. And then when given the opportunity, he's gone in there and just been impactful. I thought he played an outstanding game the other day to come away with that type of production and multiple big plays in critical situations when you're talking about some of those third downs. So he has been an invaluable piece for us. Games since Xavier had an interception, but last week he was rushing off the edge for a sack. Seems like he can do everything. What would be the most impressive? What's he best at? I don't know what he can't do, to be honest with you. I think he can play coverage. He can do it all. Obviously, he can rush off the edge. He's got unbelievable ball skills and ball production. Super instinctive.
I think he's really fit in well with what we're trying to get done here in terms of being a leader and embracing some of these younger guys and helping them along. So, we're lucky to have a guy like that.
Hey, Matt, how good has it been for Romeo in these 2 games since the Rams game that have been productive and within the confines of the floor of the offense to kind of get that in pretty far to the rearview mirror and move forward?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's great for everybody because he made some very tough, difficult catches in this last game, and that's what we expect from him. And it's not a surprise because we see it all the time in practice. The hours that he puts in that nobody sees. I mean, he's in there, on the jugs machine at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 in the morning, catching balls. So like he again is his process is. And I saw it early on when we first got him when he was a rookie. He is just consumed by football, and he's going to get everything out of his career.
Matt, looking at the Jaguars, in particular, Trevor Lawrence, what have you seen from him just this season and how he's tried to lead that offense?
I see an elite quarterback that's capable of making every throw, and then he can beat you with his legs. So I don't think there's anything he can't do. I think he's he is an elite guy, and he's got some weapons around him. And like I said earlier, I just think it's going to be a good challenge for us.
Matt, Bullard had a reputation for being a hitter in college and everything. Did you know that Evan Williams was as good a tackler or as physical as he was coming out of college?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we liked about him. But I think, he's been able to refine that too and get better and better and better. And I mean, that's what you have to do in this league. You got to continue to improve, whether you're a rookie or you're in your 10th year. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And I think Evan's approach to the game, I think, DA and RD and Perk have all done a great job with him, and along with Halfley, to help him, expedite, I would say, his development.
Two more, please. How do you thought Saleh just fit in over there?
I think Sab's done a nice job, just showing that versatility, playing the nickel, playing the safety wherever they need him. They've had a couple of injuries. He goes down playing the nickel position. And, he's an elite talent, no doubt about it. And there's nothing he can't do. So happy to see him having success.
Good.
That's all she wrote. That's Matt LaFleur. A lot of talk about Robert Saleh being there. And Saleh's staying at Matt's house. He's flying home on Thursday. Matt tried to talk him into going and spending time with his family, but it sounds like he's going to be around. It looks like Robert Saleh is going to be here. Now, I don't know if it's going to be eventually in some kind of an official capacity, but it certainly sounds like he's going to be around, and he's going to be a mind that is going to be a part of this staff in some way, shape, or form. So it did not sound like Saleh was not like he's going home. And Matt said he tried to tell him, go spend time with your family, go take a vacation. And he said he didn't want to. He wants to be around it. And there's a tight bond there. No doubt about it. And Saleh's a good defensive coordinator. No doubt. I mean, if you got more brain trust, I think it does nothing but, isn't it ironic, I guess, that Saleh was a guy that got on Aaron's bad side, gave him the unexcused absence discussion to the New York media. Rodgers did not give him the good housekeeping seal of approval when Woody Johnson came to Rodgers to talk. Saleh ultimately fired, and then ends up in Green Bay with Matt LaFleur, who, Aaron Rodgers at one point or another tried to somewhat castrate the management and or coaching staff of the Packers. Did the same in New York, and now the alliance is back in Green Bay, where the Packers, I don't want to say are thriving because they haven't won a damn thing yet, but the Packers you would consider to be a team that's definitely on the uptick, while the Jets have been week after week after week in disarray. It's just the irony of all of this. It's again, I go back to as the soap opera spins. It's like Days of Our Lives in the NFL. It just is. Yeah. The irony of it all. I love it. He's going off to Egypt, enjoying himself during mandatory minicamp. Saleh's taking the bullets for him, the verbal bullets. He gets the blame for not having accountability under Rodgers' offense. He gets canned. He comes to Green Bay, and we'll see if they actually build a really solid defense with an extra brain trust around Jeff Halfley. It's incredibly ironic. It just is. And I love every dripping second of it, to be perfectly honest with you. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Cousin Subs. Cousin Subs, where they believe in better. It was a pepperoni melt kind of night tonight for me. I had a great meeting this evening and an open house town hall down at the War Memorial for Fisher House, Wisconsin. One of my last official acts with Fisher House today. Got a couple more coming up, and then my board membership will be done. My term will be done, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. But on the way home, Cousin Subs, baby. Pepperoni melt, extra mayo, extra cheese, good to go. How we looking? And whether it's going with the turkey, whether it's going with the Philly cheesesteak, crispy chicken, whatever it happens to be, Cousins believes in better. They believe in you, and they've been around, and they're the hometown team. Stick with Cousin Subs. They give it all to you. Right there in the picture, you can say, I want that, and they'll say, damn it, we're going to make it for you. Hell yeah. That's our friends at Cousin Subs.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Got our friends at Dream Vacations. If you're looking for maybe, I don't know, February, you're thinking about putting your butt in the sand somewhere, not a bad way to go. Maybe you want to take a cruise, or maybe you want to follow the Packers. Whatever it happens to be, you can always check out our friends at Dream Vacations. Call them 414-208-4221. Dream Vacations. Let Michael and Melissa help you out on your next travel trip. They can even help you finance it. It's 414-208-4221. 414-208-4221. 414-208-4221. That is our friends over there at Dream Vacations. Dream Vacations. Good people, good stuff. Hey, Matt LaFleur, when he was sitting there talking just a little while ago, and he was discussing a lot of the play on the field and what he thought was really tremendous. Eric Wilson, the linebacker, originally went to Cincinnati and ended up getting drafted by the Minnesota, undrafted, by the way, as a free agent. Drafted by Minnesota, played for Philadelphia, Houston, New Orleans. He was on New Orleans practice squad a couple of years ago. And then he comes to the Packers a couple of years ago, and then Green Bay brings him back this year as an unrestricted free agent, and he's just worked his tail off. Matt LaFleur loves this guy. So anyway, long story short is he got his playing opportunity. Quay Walker goes down, and man, he was all over the field, to say the very least, all over the place. So let's do this. Let's talk to our buddy Mike Clemens. Mike, just fresh out of the Packers locker room and up in Green Bay. Michael, how you doing, pal?
I did not know that Quay Walker, up until he suffered that concussion in the second quarter in the winner with the Texans, had not missed a snap on defense at all so far this season. So that was the other adjustment there for Jeff Hafley. His green helmet guy, the guy calling the defensive signals, now had to change with Eric Wilson coming in. Yeah. I thought that was to note. And so no question that Quay is going to be in the concussion protocol. I think he was knocked out. I mean, they took a TV timeout, but players were gathered around because, he was lying there motionless for a minute or two after that friendly fire from Enigbari.
So, Mike, let me ask you this, because Wilson's getting a lot of play. There's a lot to discuss. But the big news of the day was not the fact that Devontae Wyatt back, but the fact that Robert Saleh was standing on the sidelines observing everything Matt LaFleur was doing with the offense today.
Yeah, lit it up pretty good. And last week, after Saleh was fired as the head coach of the New York Jets, LaFleur said, we'll see. I think he needs to have some time with family. But Robert Saleh, who had been the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, he and LaFleur go back to the start when they got into the NFL. They were actually roommates at Central Michigan together, and Matt was Robert's best man in his wedding. That's how close these guys are. Mm-hmm. They're family. They brought Robert in. This was interesting. Remember I told you that the former VP of Finance, Andrew Brandt,
yes,
who hasn't really worked here since 2008, he was up for Murphy's job, and they hired Murphy, and then they fired him. He tweeted out today, I was in Green Bay at the game, and I'd heard that maybe Saleh was coming in this week, but I didn't want to say anything. I was just like, all right, well, who are his sources? Because I don't think Russ Ball's not going to tell him that. Right. I don't know if he knows LaFleur. So whatever, it was swirling around. And so today at practice, there's Robert Saleh out there, and he's on the offensive side of the ball. And after practice, Matt LaFleur said, I want him to help me with the offense. And at the end of the day, who else would you bring in but your best buddy who, as LaFleur said, he's got an elite mind when it comes to defenses in the NFL? Who else would you bring in to trust for a second opinion about how your offense looks? It's almost like, if somebody, your best friend, dropped a whole bunch of money into their backyard or their deck or something and then brought you over for an honest opinion, right? Right. What do you think? How's it look? And then when I talked to Jordan Love about it today, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, the coach brought in his friend. He's a defensive guy, whatever. And I said, tendencies. And then Jordan, that's it. Sure, there you go. It's like, you've got 8 or 9 offensive coaches. They've drilled this stuff. They've trained these guys, whatever. But why not bring in Saleh to say, hey, you know something? I already can detect by your formations or this, you're tipping off. You're tipping off something by the way you got that look, the way that guy motioned, or the way this happened. I mean, he can help them but look at film and look at tendencies, and then tell Matt and Stenovich and Tom Clemens, here's how I would attack you guys with what you're showing so far. And that's great information you can trust, because Robert Saleh, he didn't care.
Right.
He'll tell it straight to Matt, right? Try and help him as much as he can.
Right. No doubt. And I'll say this, it sounded like in the discussion Matt had with the media, it sounds like he's going to be around. Like, he's going flying home on Thursday, but it sounds like this guy wants to be a part of coaching and did not want to take the time off to go put his ass in the sand somewhere and drink Mai Tais. Like, he's going to be around.
I think you bring him in for Wednesday and then Thursday's practice and pads, and he's spending the night, at LaFleur's home and with the family and the kids, and he goes back to see his family on Friday. But you know what it does? Number two, besides the tendency thing, it helps the image of your buddy.
Yes.
It helps the whole league say, well, the Packers are a successful team, and they think they can get something out of Saleh. So It sends a signal to all those other 31 teams and owners and stuff like, hey, don't give up on Robert Saleh. This is a good coach that just got out of a dumpster fire in New York.
Well, I was talking about this earlier, Mike, and I was playing the Days of Our Lives soap opera theme, saying the irony of all of this, where the guy that kind of went after the organization, went after the front office, went after the coaching staff, wanted it done his way, departs Wisconsin for New York. He goes to the Big Apple. He wants his guys. He wants his people around him. He wants his offensive play caller. He did not give the seal of approval to Robert Saleh, thus ends up getting him basically fired via Woody Johnson. And then he ends up back in Green Bay, where the Packers are doing just fine ever since Aaron Rodgers walked out the door, and you've got a dumpster fire in the Big Apple.
Hey, here's another thing, though. I'm telling you, the Packers organization, that last game with Rodgers and Randall Cobb walking off the field, they lose to the Lions. They end up being eliminated from a chance from the postseason. They walk in the tunnel, and Rodgers says, if this is my last game, and he names off everybody that's in the media. And then about 2 weeks later, Alan Lazard, the wide receiver, is hanging out and checking out New York City, and then signs as a free agent. And when the Jets brought him in, he said, yeah, my agent said, go to New York. Tell me if you like it or not.
Right.
And then they started picking up these other Packers, and they bring up Nathaniel Hackett after he'd been fired. And, they're just trying to lay down the surface. So when Rodgers comes out of the darkness retreat, he decides he wants to become a New York Jet, and that's all that. The Packers, it was borderline tampering for them. Like, this was all set up.
Right.
Like they wanted to go after Aaron Rodgers because they figured they were going to move on to Jordan Love and all those kinds of things. So I got to say that's Woody Johnson and his GM in there, and that it wasn't necessarily a Saleh versus his best friend, LaFleur kind of thing. Like, we're trying to get Aaron here, and we're trying to do everything to bring him here. And therefore, or it's like, hey, it's very competitive, and you just do what you can to keep your job. But there's that thing between the Jets and the Packers as well in that period. But right now, do you think Green Bay cares? No. Jordan Love became Jordan Love last year, and they made him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and they're moving on. And as I say, the Jets, they've got themselves quite the struggle.
Jonathan Ford, they bring him back on the roster. They cut the long snapper. Long snapper clears waivers. Jonathan Ford then gets cut today, released today, and their long snapper is now back. Does Jonathan Ford, do you think, come back to the practice squad?
Probably, and I think the reason that they did that merry-go-round is because Devontae Wyatt able to practice today. And he's actually, he's got 3 sacks. He's like one of your sack leaders on the team. But he missed the last 3 weeks of that ankle injury. He was limited today, but he had a chance to talk to us today. So it looks like he might be a go. And then that just gets to be, who's number 52, who's number 53. Jonathan Ford, who hasn't touched the field. He's had this kind of injury for off and on for the last year or so, but he's still a big guy. And then, he's like that Tenuta guy they had on the offensive line. It's like they haven't really had a chance to see what he could do. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he clears waivers, he circles back around, and they put him back on practice squad in case they start having a run on injuries at defensive line.
Yeah,
with that move today.
The news was good to see Devontae Wyatt back on the field. I don't know if he's going to play. I know he was limited, but the fact that he was out there practicing again today, good news, because they didn't put him on IR, so they felt that ankle would heal up probably sooner than 4 weeks, and this would be, the third week, I think, without with Devontae Wyatt. So if this is the third week, then you're kind of hoping he's back.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he was he was off to a good start. After a year or two under his belt, he got it, started using that speed, started living up to, being that end of the first round pick that he was out of Georgia.
So give me your thoughts defensively speaking, because no Quay Walker, but we all talked about it after the game. When Wilson came in, Edgerrin Cooper was there. It was like this different speed, this different tenacity, the ability to run stuff. They really shut down Joe Mixon in the second half of that ball game. Did they discover something without Quay Walker on the field, do you think?
Well, I think Edgerrin Cooper, they put him in certain situations, and then that speed, and the next thing you know is he's in the backfield tackling for a loss. But, Eric Wilson is a guy who was able to run the defense, and he's a veteran, and as you've talked about. So, assuming Quay's not anywhere near the field this week, on the trip to Jacksonville, why just stick with Eric Wilson to start alongside Isaiah McDuffie there for the inside linebackers to run the defense, rotate in Cooper in certain situations, and make him available. Here's the interesting thing that they did in that game against the Texans, and that's this moving around Rashawn Gary thing, and over center and over guard, and how they kind of set him up too, Bill. Because he's getting chipped a lot on the outside, so they move him inside. A guard from the Texans kind of fell for a move, which kind of opened the door, and that's how Rashawn was able to get in the backfield and get that sack. And if he didn't get it, the other guy that would have gotten on the other side would have been Lucas Van Ness, because he was barreling in as well. So, here's the deal. Usually, whether it was Joe Barry or now, Jeff Hafley, Packers usually wait till they're up by 10 or 14 before they start bringing the blitz. Mm-hmm. Against the Texans, against C.J. Stroud, they brought it early and often, to the point where they even unveiled their safety blitz with Xavier McKinney still in the first half and trailing in that game. That was the difference, and they pulled through. And really, at the end of the day, when you look at this statistically, and you held C.J. Stroud to a 58 quarterback rating, like his second worst game in this year and a half that he's played, defense won the damn game for you Sunday.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. Mike, you got a little time to hang with us for another segment?
I do, brother.
Let's do this. We got Mike Clemens on the line. Mike joining us up in Green Bay, just coming out of the Packers locker room. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to take a quick break. The Bill Michaels Huddle. It's on the air. We're chatting with Mike Clemens, talking Packers football. We'll get into the Jaguars matchup coming up here shortly. Stay tuned. We got more after this.
Oh, yeah. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Huddle on this Wednesday night. Yeah. Enjoying ourselves. Hopefully you are as well. Our guy Mike Clemens live in Green Bay joining us on the hotline. So Mike talked a little bit about the defense. Offensively speaking, and special teams are probably the two things we got to cover, and we'll talk more about it coming up with you on Friday. But offensively, you've got a couple of picks that were thrown by Jordan Love. How did he sound today when it comes to some of the mistakes that he's made over the last few weeks?
He acknowledges his mistakes. Got to do better in those throws. And there's this thing going back and forth that, is he going to be the gunslinger like Brett Favre and have a lot of interceptions? And there's like, no, he worked for Tom Clemens.
Right.
The same guy that was in Aaron Rodgers' ear. Like, we do not throw picks, and you get graded not so much on the results of your play when, you make crazy throws to Jaden Reed that we don't recommend, but hey, it was a nice 51-yard gain the week before, and we ended up scoring off of it. It's not the result, it's the process. Was that a good decision? That's the major thing that he's going to be graded on at quarterback from Tom Clements. And so there's that. To me, the one thing that it's sort of been impressed on me in the last couple of weeks, I've always been, a big fan of 16-play drives that take 8 minutes off the clock, and you get your defense rested, and you control the game that way. But LaFleur and Stenovich, these guys, they draw up these explosive games. And I think when, in the pro football focus world, at the end of the day, if you've got 5 plays and 3 of them are shot plays, explosive gains of 20 yards or more, or touchdowns or whatever, who cares about long sustained drives? Who cares if one of them is an interception or deflected pass?
Yeah.
So long as you can come up with explosive gains or a 2-minute drive, and you got a good field goal kicker, and you could steal a game like you did Sunday, against the Texans. And I kind of think that that's kind of the pros and the cons that are going on between LaFleur, the style of play that Jordan Love has really always kind of played, and what they're going to do moving on. It's not like they're going to run Josh Jacobs, all day long.
Yeah.
Talked to Sean Ryan, the right guard today, and he said, yeah, there's no question. Their running game has changed. Aaron Jones is fast, and you run outside zone with him so he doesn't get hurt. But, that's a speed guy. And Josh Jacobs is more of a power back. And so they're running more between the A gap and the B gap, and they're chipping away. And just like Sean Ryan said today, it's fun because it's like 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards. He says, and then something happens. Everything just clicks. Us guys on the offensive line, we all click. And then Josh hits it at just the right time, and boom, he gets 11 yards. Boom, he gets 27 yards.
Yeah.
Like they did in that drive in the third quarter where they ended up throwing the ball to him, and he got his first, TD reception of his career. That's what their running game now is behind Jacobs.
Which I like. I like the fact that they have that ability. And Emmanuel Wilson has ran the ball really well. Now the question is, when are they going to bring back Marshawn Lloyd? Because he's due to come off of the list as well.
From IR. Hey, this was a great thing. I think I mentioned this to you after the game and the post game. Reichel noted to me, he says, you know who they had back in pass protection in that critical minute 44 drive to set up for the winning field goal? Chris Brooks, the number 3 running back.
Yeah.
Because he's the best at pass protection. How about that?
Right.
How about that?
Yeah, never thought about that. And I've got to be honest. When I went back and looked at it, didn't even realize it. Didn't even realize it till now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Hey, real quick, special teams has been an issue. Now, McManus, maybe he's cured the kicking issues, but man, some of the mistakes they've made have just been bad, for lack of a better term. I mean, what do they say about some of the special teams gaffes?
You know, Keyshawn Nixon and Jair Alexander, not that he's on special teams, both these cats, you know, like Keyshawn, why didn't he, when the ball is dropping, yell Peter, get the hell out of the way.
Yeah. And
then Corey Ballantyne ends up grazing his leg, and, you end up turning over the ball deep in your own territory. And there was a time a couple of weeks ago where, Nixon brought it out of the end zone when he should have just, taken a knee. Or Jair, when he picked off a ball in the end zone and then started running around before he took it out. I mean, these guys are, Nixon is a great running back. He's fast as a ball carrier, but he takes some gambles sometimes that are just head scratchers. And at the end of the day, that falls on Rich Bisaccia, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
For coaching.
Yep. No doubt. Mike, great stuff as always. Always appreciate you, my friend, and we'll talk later this week, okay?
Talk to you then, Bill. Thank
Fantastic stuff. Mike is brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, just a mile from Lambeau Field. Go to BayMotelGreenBay.com. That is BayMotelGreenBay.com. And don't forget, for the NFL Draft, they have packages available right now. Again, go to BayMotelGreenBay.com. That is BayMotelGreenBay.com. Coming up next, Mark Scofield, SB Nation. We're going to run around the rest of the NFL. More of the Bill Michaels Huddle. Hour number 2, DOS, coming up next.
The kick is up and wide left.
Why don't they customize the goalposts?
Gina Della from Pella, how'd you get into the booth?
No, listen. If they made our goalposts just a little wider, and why just yellow? It's Green Bay. Add some green stripes.
Sure, Gina. Should they also remove the G at midfield and paint a Pella crest?
Okay, Wayne, I get it. You can't customize a football game to go the way you want, but Pella can customize your home the way you want. From durable materials and fold-away hardware to custom colors and ease of maintenance, backed by quality craftsmanship, energy efficiency, and warranties that will last for years.
And this has got to be the Pella Dagger.
Right now, get 0% interest for up to 60 months at PellaWI.com. Okay, now I've got popcorn and soda.
Right here.
$22.50, please.
Too bad we can't customize concession prices.
That's it. You got this, partner? I'm out of here.
Hold your appointment on or before November 8th. Certain restrictions apply.
Actor portrayal.
When I first looked into life insurance, I worried about the hassle. Then I found Better Life. Their simplified issue whole life coverage plans mean no medical exam. I found a plan that fit my budget, and now my final expenses are covered. Plus, I get Better Life member benefits at no extra cost. That's definitely better.
Better Life Insurance, where better means belonging. Call 888-488-4136. Insurance issued by Better Life Insurance Company. Terms and conditions apply. Member benefits are subject to change. Contact a licensed agent for details.
ABC of Wisconsin is the largest apprenticeship program in the state, with more than 2,000 active apprentices in 12 different skilled trades. In the ABC apprenticeship program, you earn while you learn on the job, get paid to go to class, and graduate with a job in your craft, but without the huge college debt. Explore 12 different construction trades in one spot at buildyourcareerwi.org, or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Are you ready for some football? He talks green and gold.
158! Go!
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels.
Good to have you on board. Hour number 2 of the Bill Michaels Show. The Huddle tonight. Hopefully you are enjoying your night. Little Bucks basketball on tonight. Philadelphia up early 18-12 against the Bucks. as the Bucs tip off their season this time in Philadelphia. In the meantime, we go to our buddy from SB Nation, Mark Scofield, joining us. It's time to talk about. Here we go. I'm going to bring this. It's just been a bunch of stuff over the last couple of weeks regarding the NFL. And then you've got the soap opera that is. The soap opera that is the NFL. And we're going to get into it. Mark Scofield, SB Nation, joining us on the hotline. Mark, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. Bill, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm gonna do this to you, so just take a listen. It is like sands through the hourglass, so are the days in the NFL. Because the soap opera that is the NFL continues to spin. We find out today that DeAndre Hopkins is heading to play. He's got to be giddy. He's going from Will Levis and company, and now he's going to a contending team looking for a three-peat, a team that could rest on their laurels and chooses not to by going out and getting a wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes to throw to. How about DeAndre Hopkins going to Kansas City? Now, does this solidify Kansas City offensively?
I don't know if it solidifies them offensively, but I think it is a massive upgrade given where their wide receiver room is right now. I mean, obviously you lose Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice both to IR with their injuries. Now you got Juju Smith-Schuster, who, kind of take off the scrap heap from New England, and he's hurt now with a hamstring injury. And so you add DeAndre Hopkins, certainly an upgrade over where their receiver room is right now. And I think what is important about sort of thinking about this move in the bigger picture, he doesn't go to, say Buffalo. Obviously, they added Amari Cooper. He doesn't go to Baltimore. Maybe the Ravens still make the move. So you prevent them from going to a contender that you might be in an AFC championship game against. And you bring him into this sort of newer version of the Chiefs offense, which, maybe hasn't been as explosive as people would expect given Patrick Mahomes, but at the same time, probably tough to be explosive given some of the injuries they had in the receiver room. At this point in his career, is DeAndre Hopkins an explosive vertical threat? Maybe not. Maybe on shot plays and things like that off of play action, but he can give you what that offense is built around right now, which is efficiency, which is, given that curl route, that 10 back to 8 kind of curl route where they're living, throwing underneath, he could certainly be effective. That was one of the, focal points and strengths of his game was the ability to win at the catch point in contested catch situations. It gives you that. And so I think the combination of, bringing him in and preventing him going from, say, Tennessee to Baltimore is a big fan for Kansas City. And he will give them what they need right now at that wide receiver position, an upgrade over the bodies that they have that are healthy at the wide receiver position. And I'm sure they will find a way to scheme up some stuff in the downfield passing game for him as well.
Would you be shocked if Detroit would not find themselves an edge rusher?
I think it's something they've got to do, and we've talked about this before. I mean, even if it's a one-year rental type of situation, you lose Hutchinson, you're at a window right now as the Detroit Lions where there's a case to be made that maybe they're the best team in the NFC, one of, if not the best team in football. I had a colleague, James Data, make that case this week. Obviously Chiefs and Ravens and Vikings and some other teams might have a claim to that title, but you've got this window right now. You lose Aiden Hutchinson for the season with that injury. I think you've got to find a way to get an edge rusher in. Hassan Reddick certainly comes to mind. Maybe a Myles Garrett, maybe a Max Crosby. Those two organizations look like they would probably be more sellers than buyers right now, given everything that's happening in Cleveland and Las Vegas. But I think if you're Detroit, you've got to find a way to add a pass rusher off the edge. Make sure that when you get into November, December, January, you start thinking about must-win games, playoff games. You've got to have the ability to pressure the quarterback. You lost it with Hutchinson. Find a way to make some of that up. Maybe you won't get, a star-type player like Myles Garrett, but Reddick off the edge would certainly give you that presence.
Would it surprise you? Because Las Vegas has said they don't want to get rid of Max Crosby, and he's kind of the face of the franchise. He's loved out there in Vegas. But Max Crosby last week said, "I'm not here for a rebuild," and that's clearly what they're in the midst of. And they don't even know really what direction they're going at this point. They don't really have a quality quarterback, and they get rid of Devontae Adams, and he's probably looking at it going, "Why am I killing myself here for this thing?" Antonio Pierce was supposed to be the guy that kind of reinstalled the Raider way, and it hasn't really culminated to anything. Would you be surprised if they don't get rid of Max Crosby?
I would be, and part of me always wonders, maybe it's the old lawyer in me, but if that was just more a negotiating ploy than anything else. No. we're not going to trade Max Crosby. I mean, sure, if you want to offer a first-round pick and maybe a conditional third that could become a second, yeah, we'll entertain it. But no, we really don't want to trade him. I mean, it almost feels to me like that negotiating play, which is we're not going to give this guy away unless you sort of floor us with an offer. But you're right. If you're Max Crosby, I mean, the NFL windows they don't last forever. And he's probably looking at the situation where, like you said, he said it himself, I don't want to be part of a rebuild. They got to figure out the quarterback situation. You know, maybe there's a question about Antonio Pierce's tenure and his job security. You know, if they're going to be tearing this thing down for yet another season, he's looking at maybe 2 or 3 seasons before he's back in a playoff game, but he has an opportunity to perhaps go to Detroit where he could be in a playoff game. He could be in a conference championship game. He could be in a Super Bowl. That would be hard for a player to pass up. And so I think ultimately I'm more inclined to believe that he does get moved. You know, maybe it would take, you know, Detroit or another team paying a price to do it. But if you've got that window of contention, you pay that price because that's somebody, especially for Detroit, that can certainly give you what you need down the stretch.
We saw the Lions go in and beat Minnesota, and now the Packers are a game closer. They're hanging right there. They ended up knocking off Houston. We've seen the San Francisco 49ers. They were not able to get over on Kansas City. They look like they're just so decimated by injury. So I don't think really, while that window is still open, unless they start getting a mass multitude of guys that are going to suddenly come back and produce, I would say that window is closing rapidly. Who's the best team in the NFC right now, in your opinion?
I mean, I think Detroit can make a case. I think there's 3 teams in the North that could make a case right now, honestly, between the Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings. I mean, I think those 3 teams have shown in recent weeks, you know, that they can play good winning football. I mean, beating the Houston Texans, that's a very good team in the AFC East. And so I think those 3 teams belong in the conversation. You know, do you want to sort of fold in Washington at this point? I mean, you might want to get them into the mix given the way that they've played. You know, you mentioned the 49ers and their injuries. I mean, I saw this on social media yesterday, and, you know, my jaw dropped when I read it, but there's some truth to it. Their healthiest receiver was shot in the chest a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that's how bad the injuries are with Ayuk going down. Now you've got a hospital situation with Deebo Samuel. You know, Kyle Shanahan still not sure when exactly they're going to get Christian McCaffrey back. That team has just been absolutely decimated by injuries. So it's really hard to put the Niners in that category. And, you know, my editor at SB Nation is clamoring, and it's partly because he's a Bears fan, but he's begging one of us to write how all 4 teams in the North get into the playoffs, because it looks right now like that could absolutely happen. And so, you know, I think you have to start with Detroit, but then you go pretty quickly to the Packers. I think you still have the Vikings in the mix. Maybe you get Washington into that mix, but you start taking a step back. And Seattle, maybe. I mean, it seems like this conference is going to run through the North.
The storylines that come out of Dallas are always interesting, and you talk about a soap opera. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on Dallas because I think they're so overexposed it isn't funny for a team that hasn't won a damn thing. But at some point, doesn't somebody have to tell Jerry Jones, hey, Jerry, you're not doing yourself any favors, and throwing everybody under the bus but yourself is not a good look?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I was expecting you were going to say something along the lines of to tell Jerry to just stop talking. Right. I think he's probably in that same sort of category there. I mean, again, you know, 30 teams were interested in Derrick Henry. Only one team that wasn't went out and bragged about it, and that was Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys. And then to come out again this week and say, you know, he's having a great year, but I'm not sure he'd have a great year in our system. He's as schematically diverse a running back as it gets in the National Football League. You know, you look at some of the stuff they're doing in Baltimore off of gap power designs, and he's right there. That 81-yard touchdown, I mean, there wasn't a touchdown run. He thought it should have been a touchdown. He said he was slow when he still hit 21.4 miles per hour, which is obscenely fast, generally speaking, let alone somebody of his size. You know, that's off of his own lead design. I mean, he can fit any system. And so, yes, Jerry Jones, I understand, you know, he runs America's team and all that. But at some point, some responsibility has to fall on his plate, particularly as we keep seeing what Derrick Henry is doing, as we keep seeing year after year after year from the Cowboys, where they either don't make the moves that they should, don't entertain the moves that they should, don't win the games that they should. And, we saw them get dump trucked in the playoffs last year. Now I don't even know if the playoffs are in their future. It certainly doesn't look like it right now. And so at some point, somebody has to step up and say, you know what, we screwed up. And you'd expect it to be Jerry Jones at this point, given the sort of different hats that he wears, but all recent comments seem to indicate he's going to do anything but that.
I look at the win this past weekend that the Packers got over the Texans, and it was a win in which they turned the ball over 3 times. They had gaffes and stupidity in their special teams again, but they went out and got the kicker who ultimately won the game. Is this a good win because you did so many things to shoot yourself in the foot, and yet you still overcame and beat a playoff quality team? Or is this kind of a salvo over the bow to say, hey, you've got more issues here than you can't get too far out over your skis because you're not that good of a team yet? Or both?
That's what I was going to say, Bill. I think it's both. I think it's, look, you never apologize for winning the game in the National Football League. Like, doesn't matter who you beat. If you're Jacksonville, you beat New England, you don't apologize. Like, you take wins when you get them. And especially on that more positive side of the ledger with respect to this Packers-Texans game, that's a very good football team, a team that has conference championship aspirations of their own, and you beat them and you overcame some mistakes to do it. I think it shows you resiliency. Like you said, you might have figured out the kicker situation because you win it, on a field goal at the end there. So that's a good thing to see. But it's also a reminder that wins don't come easy. And as we get into November, we get into December, you start getting those playoff atmosphere type games, you're going to need to have things bottled up and cleaned up on special teams, penalties, turnovers, things like that. You're not going to win games most times in the NFL turning the ball over 3 times. It's great that you were able to do it on Sunday, but if you start thinking about a playoff game, you turn it over 3 times, more likely than not, you're going to lose that game. And so I think, every game is an opportunity to improve, to find things you need to fix, to find things that you need to clean up. So I think that's an opportunity for Coach LaFleur and company to clean up some of those mistakes. But never apologize for winning the game in the NFL. You beat a very good football team. You overcame some mistakes, some self-inflicted wounds to do it. Learn from it. Get better next week.
Some intriguing games this week, and I think one of the early ones on the docket, you got Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley goes back to the Giants and just runs wild. And there was that moment that was caught where Sirianni came over and said, hey, you're only 15 yards away from the record. I want you to get it, but it's up to you. And he said, no, let other people lead. It was just it was a feel moment that we have not seen out of Nick Sirianni. So maybe things, because they're 4-2, despite all the drama around that team. Then they go into Cincinnati, into Paycor Stadium, where Cincinnati very quietly has won 3 of their last 4, even though their defense completely sucks. And I think Saquon Barkley is going to just dump truck them. But Joe Burrow, if you look at his numbers, he's having a fantastic season. So something's got to give. How big of a game do you think this is for both of these teams?
I mean, again, we're not even to Halloween, but some of these games are taking on that playoff type feel, that almost elimination type feel. And, if you're Cincinnati, you're at home. That offense is playing incredibly well. Burrow, like you said, touchdown interception ratio 14-2. He's playing great football. That defense, like you said, it's not great. And they've given up points in bunches, but they need a win, obviously, to keep pace in that division, keep pace with Baltimore, keep their playoff hopes alive. And with respect to the Eagles, I think you're right. Saquon is in a position to have a very good game against that defense. But it's also, look, you've got to win to keep pace with some of the NFC teams we've talked about. You've got to win to keep pace with Washington in that division. From Sirianni aside of him, we haven't seen, because most of the post-game Sirianni clips and stories are of him, John with fans, John with sometimes his own players, it seems like. But to have that kind of moment, I think, something they probably needed. I'm sure the social media team in Philadelphia was really happy to put that one up as soon as they could. But I think it's an important game for both teams. Both teams need a win in this, so it keeps some momentum going, keep their playoff aspirations intact, not take another step back. But one of these teams in all likelihood is going to lose a game, and either one team's dropping to 4-3, and they're wondering, can they keep pace in the NFC? One team's dropping close, even more below 500, and wondering if they're still going to be able to make a run. And so a critically important game for both of those teams.
We were talking about Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens, and Derrick Henry is right now, to me, if I'm going to have to pick an MVP that's not a quarterback, he'd probably be that guy because that's the kind of season that he's having. And that was after the first 2 games where they didn't really utilize him too much. Now they've got the Browns. The Browns, you've got Deshaun Watson, again, done for the season. That problem is now at least off to the sideline for a while, and the Browns are going to try to get themselves a win against the Ravens. The Ravens are just rolling right now. So you're right. Cincinnati needs to keep pace with Baltimore. Baltimore takes on the Browns. You've got Pittsburgh, and I can't believe they're tied, but Pittsburgh sitting at 5-2, mixing and matching quarterbacks, tied with the Ravens. I still think the best team in the AFC is the Ravens, even though they did get beat by Kansas City. I think now that they're starting to roll and they've understood how to use Derrick Henry more, I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC, and that might be one of the better divisions in all of football as well, along with the NFC North. But give me your thoughts on the Ravens being the best team in that AFC right now, or is it still just Kansas City until they get beat?
I think right now, with where we stand at this point, the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. I think it took them a week or two to figure out how exactly they were going to use Lamar and Derrick Henry together. I mean, we all, when that move was made, figured, oh, that's a perfect pairing. It's going to work out. And maybe it just took some time to get to the right concepts in that playbook. But now we're seeing a fantastic version of Derrick Henry. And with Lamar Jackson, and I wrote this earlier this week, we're talking about a 2-time MVP, one of only 2 players, him and Tom Brady, to be a unanimous MVP. And you can make the case, and like the film from Monday night makes it for you beyond just the numbers, that he's playing the best football of his career. I mean, the things that he was doing just from the pocket, Bill, on Monday night with his eyes. I mean, the touchdown to Derrick Henry, that's one of 5 touchdown passes where he's got Henry wide open in the flat, and he knows it. He doesn't look until the last possible second because he knows he's open, but he doesn't want to draw defenders to him with his eyes. It's perfect. That's the type of stuff you expect to see from a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, but this is Lamar Jackson doing it. And oh, by the way, when he gets pressure in the pocket, he can do things those guys couldn't, which is make a number of defenders miss and turn what should have been a 10-yard sack into a 15-yard gain with his feet. I mean, he's playing some of the best football of his career. And you put that offense together, you see the things they can do defensively. They look to me right now the best team in the AFC. A lot of football left, but the Ravens are for real.
How far in that rearview mirror is the Bills?
Look, it's not like they're like 5 or 6 exits behind on the highway. I mean, They're close, I think they'll need to get Cooper a little bit more involved. You saw some early struggles in that game against Tennessee, but then started to pick it up a little bit. Josh Allen struggled a little bit early in that game, but started to pick it up a bit. That's a team that, in such a quarterback-driven league, Josh Allen gives you a chance every Sunday, because he's that talented. He's that good. And, he can have a bad game. He had one against Houston. That was a head-scratching loss. Seen that one a couple weeks ago. But they're still a very good football team with one of the game's elite quarterbacks. I would have it, you've got Baltimore, you've got Kansas City, and then a little bit further back on that AFC highway, you've got the Texans and you've got the Bills. And those are certainly 2 teams that I expect to be in the playoffs. And if I were another AFC team, I wouldn't want to see them on the schedule.
Mark, it's always great to chat with you, man. I could go on for hours, but good stuff as always, and we'll chat again next week as the soap opera that is. There you go. Continues to turn in the NFL. Appreciate it, pal.
Thanks so much, Phil. Have a great week.
There you go. That's our guy, Mark Scofield. Yeah, the soap opera. Hopefully he's done, at least for a little while. But then again, it's given us a lot of fodder to discuss regarding the NFL as well. Speaking of that, coming up after the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about the rest of the NFL. We're going to start to make our picks as well as we're going to go through each game individually. The first one coming up tomorrow night. You got the Vikings on the road taking on the Rams. Hey, a reminder, this weekend we have got ourselves a watch party. We're heading north. When the Packers head south, they go to Jacksonville. We're heading north. We're going to Potawatomi Casino Hotel in Carter, Wisconsin. Carter, Wisconsin. Join us for the party. We're going to be at the Rock and Brews inside Potawatomi Casino Hotel in Carter, Wisconsin. And we're going to be up there with the Green and Gold postgame show immediately following the game as well. So we got ourselves a watch party. We got ourselves a Green and Gold postgame show, a fun weekend in the Northwoods. Hell yeah. We got a whole lot more. The Bill Michaels Huddle coming up right after this.
Here we go. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Can't wait for the 2025 year to get underway. But if, say, you're in the market for an RV, maybe you're looking to buy one, trade one in, or maybe you're looking to get yours winterized and getting ready for the off season. Our friends at Mark RV, they have the buying power of 7 locations in Wisconsin. They have a couple over in Minnesota as well. But if you're looking for just a beautiful motor coach, whether a Thor or a Tiffin, they're stunning. They're just stunning. Cruiser RV, Forest River, another stunning motorhome. Or if you're looking for, say, like a tow behind, whether it's a Braxton Creek, a Gulfstream, Jayco, I can give you a bunch of different names. Winnebago as well. They've really upped their game when it comes to the motor coach line. Marquardt RV has everything to offer. We're going to work with them next year on some great stuff as well. Brand new big unit cruiser. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to do some charity stuff with them next year. I'm so thrilled to be working with this company, Marquardt, MARKQUART, MarquardtRV.com. That is MarquardtRV.com. So I want to do this. I want to go back into the Packers locker room. Evan Williams, the Green Bay Packers, obviously, one of their key guys that had some success this past week as well, because between Williams and what Wilson was doing, it was fantastic. And Evan Williams has worked his way into that kind of starting free safety role. He's got him. He's got Javon Bullard back there. Xavier McKinney has really, really been good. So they've moved around guys on the depth chart, but Evan Williams has kind of made the most of his own in his time. Here's what he had to say. He had a back and forth with the media. Take a listen.
LaFleur was asked about you today, and he talked about how you've refined some of that at this level, and you've continued, in a short period of time, you've continued to get better. How do you develop when you get to the professional level?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just been taking, little things from the people that have done it before, the X's in your room, just guys that have that experience at this level and, see what they're trying to get better at. A lot of it's watching tape, just being self-critical every time you look, at your own film, trying not to just look at the highlights. You got to look at the bad plays too and face them and just try to improve. That's the name of the game, just getting 1% better. And, that's something that I try to do every day, just be myself yesterday. And I think good things will come from that.
What a three-point conversion the other day. You get a timeout taken. Not often are timeouts taken on the defensive side of the ball. Sure. How much emphasis is put on those situations and making sure they don't get that extra 2 points on the board? Do you like the fact that emphasis is put there? Yeah. Did it make an impact on the play?
Absolutely. Just any point plays, anything in the red zone. And that's why we, put such an emphasis on red zone, third down, anything that can lead to points, especially a 2-point play, where you can, effectively, give your team a possession. Those are huge plays for us. We put a lot of emphasis on just those type of downs that can be, real momentum changers. And I had to get the perfect call out there for us. Wanted to be in what we wanted to be. Not have the offense dictate our terms. And then we just executed honestly in that situation.
Did they come out in the same formation? Was it kind of?
It was different. Naturally, a team doesn't want to give you the same exact picture twice. Have them get ready for it. But we adjusted and we executed.
As a rookie, you're going to have a lot of first-time experiences. Now you're getting to the middle part of the season, playing more. Do you feel like you've seen some of this stuff before? Or does it all feel still kind of new to you as you're going along?
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting the hang of it a little bit. Again, just trying to learn from, just the people that have been in this building for so long, and really just, bred that legacy that I'm just getting to be a part of. Just try to do my best to, talk or listen twice as much as I talk. Just kind of being just a sponge for whatever knowledge I can have, and then go out there and execute.
We talked about building you guys up, the rookies in the offseason during the regular season. Now your snaps have gotten on the way up. How beneficial was that build up to get you where you are now?
Yeah, I think it was huge. Just us, you kind of want to dip your toe in the water first, get a few reps, just to start, just to, gain that confidence, with the group, be able to look in the mirror and tell yourself, okay, I belong here. I'm comfortable with the speed. And I think you did a great job of just integrating us, with everybody and putting us in positions to succeed.
Evan Williams, defensive back for the Green Bay Packers, and a rookie, 4th-round draft choice. Just trying, like he said, trying to be a sponge, trying to absorb it all. But between him and Eric Wilson, it was an impressive weekend that they just had against a playoff caliber team. So this is where you don't want to stub your toe going into Jacksonville, obviously. Then you got Detroit next up on the docket. Man, if you can get a couple of wins before the bye week and get yourself to 7 wins on the season, 7-2 at the unofficial halfway point of the season, that'd be saying something. But, the old adage is the old adage for a reason, and it's one game at a time. So Packers got to get the win this weekend against a pretty good team. You got Jacksonville. Their record is not indicative of how they've played in the last couple of games, last 3 games. They're not to the level of being a playoff quality team yet, but they could ascend. And although they've had some trip, man, where they had to go across the pond, they had to stay there, practice there, play there, and now they've played there twice, and now they come back to the States. They probably got a little bit of taxing on them right now. So maybe the Packers are also catching them at a good time. And don't forget, it's going to be 80 degrees plus in Jacksonville this upcoming weekend down there. So one of the last noon games of the season also, by the way. The Packers, if I'm not mistaken, the remainder of home games, short of the game to be determined against the Bears, the last game of the season, every game now at Lambeau Field is either a 3:25 or a 7 o'clock plus start the rest of the way at home. So just an FYI there for you. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll start to make our picks around the NFL. More of the Bill Michaels Huddle coming up right after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Thursday night. So good. No football tonight. We got some Bucks basketball tonight. Tipping off their NBA season, but we start to take a look around at the rest of the National Football League. By the way, the Bucks were trailing a little bit earlier. Now they're up 54-43 on the Philadelphia 76ers. So Bucks now back at it, and they're beating up the Joel Embiid-less 76ers at this point. So there you have it. All right, let's do this. Here we go. Time to look around the rest of the National Football League. By the way, nobody on bye this week. 16 games on the docket. Starting off tomorrow night, Minnesota, they ended up losing by 2. By 2. 31-29, they lost to Detroit. Now they go on the road at 5-1 after the first blemish of the season makes its mark. And they're now on the road taking on the Rams, who the Rams beat Las Vegas. But the Rams are banged up. I mean, really banged up. Now there's rumors that Cooper Kupp is on the auction block. He may end up going. Matthew Stafford, he's got an 83.6 quarterback rating. Sam Darnold, by the way, he's got a 104.0 quarterback rating. 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. As much as I'd like to see the Rams get a win, here's one thing to think about. Think about this for a minute. The Vikings just got beat at home. Now they got to turn around and fly to L.A. to take on the Rams on a Thursday night stint. Normally, I would take the home team because it's difficult to travel, much less go to the West Coast. However, the Rams just aren't that good. As much as I want to see the Vikings, and the chips are stacked against them in so many different facets, I just don't think they're going to lose. I think they're going to come back and get a big win in a big way and beat a lackluster Rams team, for lack of a better term. I'm going to pick the Vikings to get the win there. Cincinnati is a big one for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's won 2 of their last 3 after starting off the season really ugly. Meanwhile, Philadelphia seems to have put the train back on the track a little bit. This is kind of a tipping point for both teams, to be perfectly honest with you. You got Philadelphia on the road at 4-2. Saquon Barkley last week ran wild on the New York Giants. He's got 5 touchdowns rushing, 1 touchdown through the air. Jalen Hurts is starting to look a little bit more like a quarterback. He's got a 94.4 quarterback rating, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks. Joe Burrow, though, is fantastic. The problem I have with this game is Cincinnati has no freaking defense, and they can't stop the run to save their life. To me, it's kind of a toss-up, but I just think Philadelphia right now is the better team. And I think Philadelphia's got a defense, and they can run the ball and control the clock. I'm going to go with Philadelphia on the road to knock off Cincinnati. I think in Cleveland, they're singing Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. The problem is the team is dead as well. The Baltimore Ravens come rolling into town at 5-2 with Derrick Henry, who can run everybody over. I think they got a good defense in Cleveland. Cleveland lost last week to Cincinnati 21-14. They played defensively stout. Offensively, they couldn't get anything done. That was with Deshaun Watson. Now it looks like, they're going to have a mix and match quarterback, but nevertheless, I'm going to take Lamar Jackson and company, Derrick Henry and company to get the win. Baltimore goes to 6-2. Cleveland goes to 1-7 on the season. Jameis Winston, by the way, I believe is going to be under center at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Then you've got Tennessee on the road taking on the Lions. I don't have to really say much. Lions are going to get the win. Lions coming off of a win to get things tight back in the NFC North again after getting that win in Minnesota, a hard-fought win, even without Aiden Hutchinson. I think the Lions get the win. Tennessee trading away DeAndre Hopkins and making a deal to send him over to the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopkins not really doing a ton with Tennessee anyway. Tennessee's going to go to 1-6, and they are one of the front runners for the number 1 overall pick in this year's NFL draft. Meanwhile, Detroit, they go to 6-1. Houston Texans go home, and they're licking their wounds right now. They ended up getting beat by the Green Bay Packers, and they played a pretty decent game. C.J. Stroud, though, held to less than 90 yards total in that contest. I have a feeling they're going to open it up a little bit more against the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson's back under center. Looks like he's going to be playing this week. Jonathan Taylor, 4 touchdowns and 6 receptions so far in the season. But still, I think Houston at home, too tough. They're going to get themselves a win. Houston goes to 6-2. Indianapolis ties their season mark at 4-4. Then you've got the Dolphins. Tua is back. The Dolphins are 2-4. Arizona is 3-4. Something's got to give. I can't stand the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think they're that good of a football team. Never been a big Kyler Murray fan, even though he's playing, better this year. 9 touchdowns, 3 picks, 66.3 quarterback rating. Tua, I don't know. He's one hit away from never playing football again, I think. But he has not played great. He had 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. I'm going to go with Arizona. It pains me to say it. Miami goes to 2-5. Arizona goes to 4-4 on the season. I just think Tua's got to shake some rust off. And I just got a gut feeling that Miami is not going to get the win this coming week. New England hosting the Jets. The Jets took a loss at Pittsburgh. They were only able to muster 15 points in that contest. Aaron Rodgers looked ugly. He's got 10 touchdowns, 7 picks, an 82.2 quarterback rating, 61% completion percentage. By the way, Drake May is better than that. And New England's defense, they gave up 32 points to Jacksonville last week. I think Aaron Rodgers shreds them. Even though it's in New England, I think Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, I think they shred them. Also, Garrett Wilson got a rebound, so to speak, after letting that ball bounce off of his chest. And next thing you know, it turns into a big return for Pittsburgh, sets up a touchdown. Pittsburgh then, that was a turning point in the game. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think the Jets get a win. Jets get their 3rd win of the season. New England takes their 7th loss of the season. They are tied with a couple others who are just that bad for the front runner for the first overall pick of the year this year, because I don't see them winning more than just a couple of games, to be perfectly honest with you. They're tied with Tennessee. I think they're going to also be 1-6 or 1-7, after this one comes to a culmination. So I'm gonna end up taking the Jets in that one. Meanwhile, Atlanta on the road, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers just got humiliated by Baltimore, 41-31. They made a good valiant effort, but Baker Mayfield was throwing picks all over the joint. Odd for him, but this time they're back at home, down there at Raymond James Stadium. Here comes the Atlanta Falcons. They're 4-3 on the season. Both of these teams tied. They're vying for the top spot in the AFC or in the NFC South. I'm going to take Baker Mayfield at home. They're going to get a rebound game out of this one. So I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. When we come back, let's do this. When we come back, we'll get to the afternoon games, the Monday night game, and the Packers game when we come back. We got the Saints and the Chargers getting ready next up on the docket, so we'll talk about that when we return. Again, don't forget, coming up this Sunday, we're going to be live at Potawatomi Casino Hotel in Carter, Wisconsin. It's a Green and Gold watch party. Packers, Jaguars, then the Green and Gold postgame show immediately following. We can't wait to get there. Come up and join us. Stay the weekend, or if you live in the area, just come on by the Rock and Brews. That's where we're going to be. Looking really, really forward to this. Potawatomi Casino Hotel in Carter, Wisconsin, and the Green and Gold postgame show. More right after this.
Oh, yeah. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Huddle on this Wednesday night as we continue to roll through the second half of the games, the afternoon games, the Monday night game, and then ultimately the Packers down in Jacksonville taking on the Jaguars. Let's get back at it. You've got the contest where it starts at the 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central. I think this one's actually 3:05. Correct me if I'm wrong. SoFi Stadium, where the Chargers, who lost last week to Arizona, by the way, they got beat 17-15, take on the Saints, and the Saints got dump trucked by Denver. Spencer Rattler's not the answer, and they've got all kinds of injuries. I mean, injuries everywhere. Last week, Justin Herbert, a season-high 27-39, 69.2% completion percentage for a season-high 349 yards, no picks. No touchdowns, but had a quarterback rating of 97.1 last week. I got to take the Chargers in this one. The Chargers go to 4-3. New Orleans, who is reeling, they get the first 2 wins of the season, start off on fire, and after that, this will be their 6th straight loss. So I'm taking the Chargers in this contest, without a doubt. Got a good one. Got Buffalo. This is tough because it's tough to go East Coast, West Coast. And you've got the Buffalo Bills, who beat the snot out of Tennessee 34-10. Then you've got Seattle, who is hosting the Buffalo Bills. Seattle 4-3, Buffalo Bills 5-2. Seattle won last week at Atlanta. 34-14. I mean, they proved something to me last week. Geno Smith has been playing pretty well. Not great. 8 touchdowns, 6 picks. DK Metcalf been big with 3 touchdowns so far this season. 568 yards total through the air. Derek Hall has been their leader. He's their sack master over there. He's been putting pressure on all kinds of quarterbacks. He's going to make Josh Allen run. I think I'm going to hate myself for making this pick, but I think I'm going to go with Seattle. Seattle proved something to me last week. Seattle at home, I like them. That is going to be also a 3:05 start time at Lumen Field. So I'm going to take Seattle at home to get the win. In the meantime, the 1-6 also in the running again for the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers. Carolina traveling to Denver. Carolina got drilled by Washington 40-7 last week. Denver, they got a win at New Orleans, as I had mentioned, 33-10. And Bo Nix, tell you what, Bo Nix not overwhelmingly impressive, but the kid stands tall, man. I like that. Andy Dalton really hasn't. He gave him that initial spark and got Carolina a win, and after that, it's been really nothing. And Andy Dalton has been Andy Dalton, for lack of a better term. And not a fan of Carolina at all. I'm going to take Denver's going to go to 5-3 at Empower Field at Mile High. Denver's going to go to 5-3 on the season. Just got a feeling that the Broncos with Bo Nix. Bo Nix, by the way, 239 yards with no interceptions last week. The third Denver quarterback ever with 75-plus rushing yards in a game. Aims for the third in a row with 60-plus rushing yards. The only other guy that's done it is Norris Wheezy and Tim Tebow, in case you didn't know. Yeah, there's some stats for you. I got Denver at home. getting the win. Then the Raiders. They've given up on Devontae Adams. He's out. Max Crosby says he wants to stay, but he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. So now we kind of wait and see what gives. The Raiders at home at 2-5, hosting Kansas City. Kansas City getting DeAndre Hopkins. It's done. Come on, just give Kansas City the division. Call it a day. The Rams ended up beating the Las Vegas Raiders last week, 20-15. And meanwhile, Kansas City, they went to San Francisco and got the win. Patrick Mahomes, I don't know how he's doing it. He's got 8 picks, 6 touchdowns and 8 picks, but he's running all over the place. Travis Kelce, he's got 28 catches, 245 yards. Travis Kelce, by the way, has not dented the end zone yet. Kansas City, though, still, they get the win. Kansas City walks away with a victory in this one. Taking them. Washington, Jaden Daniels has busted up ribs. Don't know if he's going to start. Kind of right now limited. You got the Bears coming to town. Chicago at 4-2. Washington at 5-2. If Daniels plays, I'm taking the Washington Commanders because I just think he's that good. This is supposed to be a matchup of number 1 and number 2 when it comes to the picks. Caleb Williams, 88.7 quarterback rating, 9 TDs, 5 picks. He's settled down, though. 226 yards and 4 touchdowns with a 124 quarterback rating and rushed for 56 yards last week, becoming the 4th quarterback ever to do that. Bears are starting to click. If Jaden Daniels plays, I go with Washington. If he doesn't, I'll take the Bears. Got to wait and see. Maybe that's going to be a game-time decision. Then you've got Sunday night, Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys, and all the stupidity that Jerry gives us. It's like, again, a soap opera. Craziness. They're going to be playing at Levi Stadium, taking on the 49ers. 49ers, this is a rematch of some playoff games just a couple of years ago when the 49ers got after Dak Prescott. And it was Bosa and company that just got in Dak Prescott's ass. I mean, just beat up on him, and he started throwing picks, creating turnovers. Remember, the last time we saw Dallas, they got beat up and dump trucked by Detroit, 47-9. Last week, the 49ers, they got beat by Kansas City, 28-18. Brock Purdy, to this point, better quarterback. 9 touchdowns, 7 picks, quarterback rating of 91.2. Dak Prescott, 8 touchdowns, 6 picks. CeeDee Lamb, though, 467 yards, but the guy almost looks disinterested, doesn't he? Just doesn't look like he gives a damn. And they're highly criticized this week. However, Dallas is coming off of a bye. I'm going to go out on a limb. Coming off of the bye, I'm going to take I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys in the Sunday night football game. I'm going to take Dallas. It pains me to say it, but I'm going to take Dallas. I don't want to. It pains me to do it. George Kittle, by the way, led the team with 6 receptions last week. That's right now their leading guy with everybody else getting banged up. So, pains me. Then you've got, let's talk about it, Monday night. Russell Wilson now under center. A couple of touchdowns, no picks, even though he probably should have had a couple of picked off in that game against the Jets. But his receivers made plays. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks. He's not having a good season at all. 62.5 for completion percentage. Russell Wilson started to feel it, though, once he kind of got his legs under him a little bit. And Pittsburgh, I think, is for real. Their defense is for real. If anything, their defense will win them this game. Monday Night Football, Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Steelers, they go to 6-2. And the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants, they take yet another loss. Russell Wilson, 264 yards, a couple of touchdowns, no picks, a quarterback rating of 109. Rushed for a touchdown, the first start of the season as well. I think Russell Wilson's going to give him a little bit of a burst. So, yeah, we'll take the Pittsburgh Steelers at home to get themselves yet another win and keep pace, by the way, with the Baltimore Ravens in that AFC North, that very competitive AFC North. There you have it. And that, my friends, brings us to back to Sunday, the noon kickoff down in Jacksonville. Yeah, the Jaguars, they got a win. They knocked off New England, believe it or not, 32-16. Packers, they got a hard-fought win. They turned the ball over not once, not twice, but 3 different times. Didn't get themselves a turnover and still figured out a way to win. Jordan Love, a season-high 72.7 completion percentage. A couple of those passes ended up in the other hands, in the team's other hands. You didn't want that to happen. But he's got 15 touchdowns, 8 picks. I'm going to say that there's a little mojo. Saleh was at practice today, kind of looking over that offense, another set of eyes, giving his confidant, Matt LaFleur, all the skeptical news about this offense, anything that he may see, tendencies and such. I'm going to take the Packers on the road. Packers at Everbank Stadium. Everbank Stadium. That's a noon kickoff. Don't forget, our watch party is going to be up in Carter, Wisconsin. We're looking forward to it. We're going to be at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. We can't wait. Should be a fantastic time. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to get themselves a win. And there you have it. That's it. That's our picks this week. And that is just a fast 2 hours, for lack of a better term, for the Huddle tonight. So hope to see you all up in the North Woods in Carter, Wisconsin, where we're going to be at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. We're going to be there. I'm actually getting into town late Friday night. Going to be there all day Saturday. Heading out for some dinner and such on Saturday night. And then Sunday, we get it together. Fantastic show today. Fantastic. Good stuff. We always appreciate everybody being here. And everybody over there on the live stream, yeah. You the man, and you the woman. That'll do it. That quick, we're out of here. Time for us to go until we talk again tomorrow. Don't forget the regular show week.